What's up, everyone? This is Jay and Scott here with Revolution Radio. We got quite a bit to get to today. We want to talk about Rebecca Jones, a, a state employee, or former Florida employee, who is now being harassed by Governor DeSantis. Also, wanted to talk about, as I'm talking about all the bad Biden picks, I want to talk about maybe a good one that popped up. But first, I want to talk about this, Scott, because I kind of see you and I as ideologically, you, I would say, match up pretty well with a Josh Hawley. And I myself, more of like a Bernie Sanders. And I bring this up because these two, Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders, have recently made a lot of noise because they're pushing Congress to issue stimulus checks. They made
Right.
a pretty big stink about the fact that the stimulus bill that is in play right now is just garbage, and that the $1,200 stimulus checks need to be included. Now, at first I thought, well, this is cool. I'm glad to see. And one thing I thought was cool was it wasn't staffers of Sanders and Hawley. It was them. They actually got together and talked to each other about it. And it seemed like they were also pushing, there's a few other people. Ro Khanna, of course, is going to be one. Um, Douglas, who's a Republican. These economic populists start popping up in Congress and saying, yeah, I'm not for this either. We need to give more to the people. And I was really impressed by that. And I was like, that's cool. That's a movement that we don't really get very often. It's probably not going to lead to anything, but it's cool. But within like 3 hours of that news coming out, they were saying, well, the White House has softened on the idea, and so has the Senate. And so it looked like, okay, they're actually going to move with it. And in that brief time, I was really naive, and I was like, see, that's what you do to change things. That's how you gain power. Like when the populace stand together, they can get shit done. And the part of my brain that just forgot what we're dealing with seemed to just kind of be, I was absorbed in something else, maybe Cyberpunk 2077, who knows? But my brain wasn't there because this morning, an update to the story is that Mitch McConnell has said, yeah, we can do the stimulus checks. We're only going to do $600,
Right, $600.
but no unemployment benefits, no unemployment
Right.
plus up. And
Extension.
yeah, and when you actually look at the two bills, there's about 300 to 400 billion that they would save by doing the $600 paycheck or the $600 one-time stimulus check.
Because they're more interested in, quote, avoiding a government shutdown than they are in avoiding people's starvation.
Right? I mean, I don't know. Like, what's your take on this whole thing? And which way do you think would be the better route?
Well, I mean, obviously, and obviously everyone needs needs something else. I mean, with things the way they are, they're worse than they ever have been. So I don't see how you could even justify anything less than the first go around when the second go around, or I guess it's the third wave of COVID, is even worse. I mean, and especially in how inconsistent a lot of the governors are doing their own, states and city lockdowns. It's like one place that can be open, and next door they're not open. It's
Yeah.
going to cause all kinds more troubles than that. I mean, and I just think there's really no other. They just have to extend it. I mean, and especially many states are severely, Kansas being one of them, severely behind, getting out unemployment benefits, way backlogged, but they're not too busy to go after people who got too much. It's kind of like, where are
Right.
your
Yeah.
freaking priorities?
I mean, part of it, I wonder, because, that actually kind of brings us to the other point, is that Mitch McConnell also said that he wants to work on just the stimulus. And I actually kind of, I like and dislike this, because this wasn't even, a more recent update on the situation, Mitch McConnell said, "Okay, look, um, we're not going to deal with," and this is after pushback to people saying, "No, no, we need the unemployment, plus, and we also need the stimulus checks as well." He said, "Okay, cool. Here's what I want to do: no funding for states, and we'll take away the liability protection from businesses, and let's just work on the stimulus." And like that, I thought was like, okay, cool. But he still wants to do this like meager two. He went to do $200 extra for unemployment, which really, I mean, does it help people? Sure, but not really. And then the $600 stimulus check, and it's like pulling teeth with these people when it's like, there again, we've talked about the draconian um, measures that Australia went through. But honestly, Australians were also getting $1,900 a month to stay home. Like, yeah, that sucks. You have to stay home. But oh, here's 2 grand extra. We're doing this whole like, well, don't stay home, but stay home. We don't know. People are still dying. Hospitals are filling up. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Pray to God you don't have a heart attack or a stroke or a car accident, because who the hell knows what's going to happen to you. And we're gonna give you just scraps, and and by the way, we're gonna fight over that. We're not even gonna make that an easy possibility. I don't, I don't know. And let me just say this too. One of the states who needs the most funding right now, as Mitch McConnell is fighting to give states any sort of funding, is his own state of Kentucky. Like they are, I think I saw they are about a month away from not being able to afford um, sanitation workers. They're going to have to cut down on fire and police officers. New York City is a good place. 60% of their transit has been laid off. The National Guard is having to be trashmen. Like states are going broke, and you know, I, he- let me ask you a question on this because I was kind of thinking about it. No, if we, you know, what if you pumped money into the country, like with what you're saying, that like original stimulus plan, and then you actually taxed rich people. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I think part of the reason why we don't have the funding is because 80% of our wealth goes to the top 10% of our country. And then those top 10% don't get taxed as much as the middle and the lower class.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
well,
that could
well,
be a problem.
I'll put it this way. Let's just talk about the sheer amount of money that would be needed, and I don't know how we would go. I think if you tried to try to do that to the rich, well, let's say not. It's not really the rich. We're talking about the people who are rich. The word rich
Yeah, people
doesn't really
like
quantify the
Lori
people who could buy
Loeffler.
their own country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Um,
I just learned
Soros
like
and the
she
rest of the multi billionaires,
and not, but again, not
hey,
even her, like there again, Lori Loeffler running in Georgia. She has 5 houses. She's talked about the fact that she might have to sell her $50 million mansion. This is a politician, by the way.
that's just horrible. I will cry for her what I'm saying is if you tried to do that, and even if you had a bunch, and everyone in Hollywood said that they're going to give, 10 million each too, because let's not forget about those people who are paid $30 million to do one stupid movie.
Right?
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
that you would have a ton of rich people who would be on the left and the right, both go, oh no, take me to court. And they would just tie up the system. It wouldn't happen. You have to guilt these people. Say, basically, do you care about the country? You sure talk like you do on Twitter. Now put your money where your mouth is and help Americans. Make it happen.
I think that's where we have to be. Honestly, in
Yeah,
general, I think that's
you,
100%
yeah.
where we have to be.
You ask people to do it on their merits, and then put a list of these people, who are extremely wealthy, and maybe these people also extremely care, and have a tribunal and have every single receipt for everything given and bought by these people. And then once this is over, they can enjoy the benefits of being people who gave a shit, and almost blacklist the other ones. Blacklist them to a
Yeah,
point where you're like,
I love your thing here, but you understand how like a Keith Overman or even a Sean Hannity would take this. I mean, it's the Nazi
right,
regime
hey,
rising again.
right. No, and I agree. But I think either way, it would be, a shaming thing is, let's just say you don't have to do a list of people who didn't. Just have a list of people who did, and then everyone else, who's didn't make the list. Just don't even have to make another list of people. But I know that list wouldn't make people happy, because there would be lots of people, even like, I won't be specific, but there would be people who are very rich and who will be like, I ain't giving them my money.
No,
You
no,
know,
exactly.
they could be an NBA star, they could be a broker, they could be a Wall Street person, it could be anybody, and most people are going to get greedy. Like, well, what happens if things get worse? How am I going to live off my last 200 million?
So
You know,
I think
so
that's the other thing that has to be, talked about a little bit when we talk finances and economy. I mean, how many times have someone in your position been told, and not just your position, but our position, middle class, higher, lower class, if you will, probably in some parts of the world for sure. Um,
I'm a vagrant. I don't know about you.
but how many times have you been told, well, you just need to spend your money wiser? And you're living on, anywhere from 20 to 50K a year. And well, you should be saving for a rainy day. You're not prioritizing right. But at the other at the other time, you have people, uh, Lori Loeffler being one. I hate, there's a million of them I could throw out, but these like anti-tax millionaires, billionaires who are like, well, I need my money. Well, no, no. Why aren't you prioritizing? Where's, how come you can't live on what I live on? And look, if you earn more and you've done more, fair enough, great. But at least pay the same taxes I do. Pay the same percentage without loopholes, without any of that crap. Just pay the fucking 15%. Because I mean, so many of them, like we were talking about, when Trump's taxes came out, it was like, we had figured out that I pay more than he does. Like when he was making what, millions of dollars in
Well, I'm
2015.
pretty sure he was making more than millions. And for those of you who don't know, he paid like, what was it, $900? That was what he owed.
Yeah, it was
But
like
for
850 or
whatever
something.
reason, threw like 10 million at them. Like overpaid by 10 million. I don't know why that is, because he really did only owe them nine. It's kind of like, well, maybe he thought a couple things would catch up to him
Well,
at
and,
some
and
point.
that's
You
potential.
know.
That's potential. And look, I'm not, anyone who just heard me kind of like go after Trump. It's not a Trump issue. No, no, it's a system issue. He should have to
Yeah.
pay more.
Oh yeah.
You know,
This is how you
Buffett.
operate. You don't get rich and not get like a tech. Your accountant say, well, let's not participate in the way you can keep more of your money. I mean, that's not an accountant that's going to keep his job very long for rich
Right.
people.
Yeah, yeah, a rich person accountant. Because mine's really good at just telling me how much damn money I owe every month, and I'm like, hey, can we talk about like some loopholes or something? No, we can't.
Can I shoot myself in the foot again?
you know, But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Back to this Bernie Holly story. Do you, number one, do you think they should keep pushing like they're doing? Or do you think they're going to start causing more trouble? Because for me, that's the way Mitch McConnell kind of said it, was like, okay,
Oh,
fine.
like right that
You want
they're.
to pressure me? Well, then I'm taking away state funding.
Yeah. See, Washington is such a this shouldn't even be a discussion. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
This should be let's pump it out again. And yeah, we're getting in stupid debt, but remember there are other ramifications to what happens when people start to starve and lose their money, get kicked out of where they live en masse.
Well, and I think.
You think
Oh, go
you
ahead.
think there was unrest before? Just wait till the sheriff's office is they're not going to bust criminals, and they're just going to go out and kick your grandmother out of her house and then go arrest your friends for having a backyard barbecue, but
Yeah.
they're not doing anything else. That is when, and honestly, when that shit starts to happen, I'm going to put on that like Ghost Rider mask with the flames and get on my go-kart and start some shit.
Well, and I think you brought it up too, which was um, a really economically sound standpoint, and I think not even standpoint, it's a fact that for every dollar we spend now to keep everything going, it's going to cost us $5 to rebuild. So the
Yeah, you're
rebuilding
you're
process is going to
cyclically
cost us
putting money into the
$5.
economy. If you don't, well, that just means people won't put anything in because they can barely. I mean, you're starving a system that doesn't even have quarters anymore because nobody's using change anymore because they're ordering everything. And, I mean, there are like the thousands of little things that start to break down. How many people have seen a bank branch open, in a place? How many people I mean, you have the blinders on, then you don't see how many places are closed, even in
Right.
places that
Yeah.
don't seem to be hit as bad. I mean, I see them all the time and go, and the places that were closed before, oh shit, they ain't coming back.
No.
And what's
And
happening with those properties? Somebody's having to pay those property taxes, but they don't have any money because they don't have renters. So, I mean, this goes all the way up the chain.
and yeah, I mean, I think, there again, to quote you again, I thought, what you'd said, I think it was our last show. You were like, look, what's going to cost, if you had a home, would you rather maintain it or would you rather demolish it and rebuild it? What's going to cost more? And yeah, that's 100% the situation we have here. We either continue to maintain our economy, yeah, it's going in debt, whatever. You know what? We're going to pick it back up under every president. They all say we've had the greatest economy. So they'll fix it again. No pro, we'll all be back doing our stupid jobs, barely making shit while they're collecting tons of taxes. They'll be fine. Or should we completely demolish our economy and then spend a fuck ton, 5 times more than it would cost to maintain it to rebuild it? And by the way, here's my concern. In what image would they rebuild it? Because when they rebuilt it under Obama, we lost 20% of like typical trade school jobs, blue collar
Yeah,
real
blue
jobs.
collar and white collar jobs. I
We
mean,
lost.
anything that was Disney, Disney is the one who imported. They fired all their American workers and they filed for more work visas than any other
Oh,
company.
and you know what? No, you're right. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about manufacturing jobs,
Oh, I know.
truck
I'm just
driver
saying
jobs.
it goes all the way up the chain. When these multi-billion-dollar companies, and what will also happen is what you're also seeing is now we were having a little fun with comics earlier because DC was scooped up by AT&T and Time Warner. Well, Time Warner's going to go up for sale. There are about to be some mega monopolies created
Yes, yes.
right in front of your eyes, and it has to do with Time Warner and some of these other companies. They make movies. Well, they're not going back to the movie theaters. So now AMC and some of these other movie theater companies are going to close their doors. Smaller theaters everywhere are gone.
Well,
And it's not because they
who's
don't,
gonna own that?
we won't get back out there to see movies because people want to go to the theater. I like the theater, but the problem is they're just not going to be there anymore. And this is a systemic issue of the longer we stay not only without any kind of income, but locked down and businesses unable to open even for their own safety. It's going to start to all be a snowball and roll downhill. And unfortunately, we're the ones that are going to get run over by it.
I think you're 100% correct. And I mean, just a quick little side note on that. Who's gonna own these companies? Amazon, Google, Facebook? I mean, at what point is it this rebuilding that we're trying to stop this process of rebuilding, quote unquote, and we're trying to maintain because there again, in '08, when our economy went under, 20% of those middle class jobs were lost and lost forever. They were replaced with service industry jobs, your gophers, your part-time help, people like that, which by the way, less hours, less pay, less benefits. And you don't think they're going to do that again? Of course they're going to do it again because it's the same people orchestrating this. It's the same rich
Right. It's when Walmart took all of
top
their full-time workers and dropped them to 30 or 29 hours so they didn't
29,
have
yeah.
to, and then provided them very nicely with applications for,
Food
welfare and
stamps, yeah.
medical services because they didn't want to provide them.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, same people. It's Wall Street and giant corporations who are making all of this happen. What's going to happen this next go around? I really think, like you're saying, giant monopolies are going to happen. And by the way, if what we're saying now, you're like, well, I'm worried about the debt. I'm worried about the debt. Okay, when we have monopolies, we don't have freedom of speech anymore. So if everything else doesn't mean jack to you, your freedom of speech should. And when Amazon owns half of the country and you can't speak out about political injustices, you can't, Amazon decides we shouldn't have guns anymore, only blame what's going on right now because allowing them to get that powerful, and yes, by the way, no stimulus is allowing them to get that powerful.
Yeah, and it's
That's
and
what's
it's
going to happen.
still
That's the
happening
fallout.
today. And I got an example of something that, of course, many of us may think is a little bit trivial, but it's a good example because we saw it with COVID for the longest time. If anyone watches enough YouTube, you know that for at least 2 or 3 months when COVID came out, YouTubers, even very professional YouTubers, just to say, hey, it's harder to get this because of COVID, they couldn't say the word COVID
Yes,
because
yeah.
they were getting flagged
I was
and
one of those.
videos removed. Yeah, I mean it was stupid, and of course it stopped because it's just they probably couldn't police it enough because
Right.
everybody and their dog.
Every video would be
But
pulled
here's
down.
the thing: that apparently YouTube sent out another an advisement to all their people today, or to YouTubers in general, content creators, saying if you in any way advocate, talk about blah 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 things that are going on in the news every day on every channel, i.e., Trump lawsuits, voting fraud, stuff like that. It doesn't matter where you are on that, it. But the thing is, they are talking about this stuff on the news every day. You are no longer allowed to talk about Trump, voter fraud, digital machines, blah 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 blah, even though it's on the news every day, you are not allowed to post about it on YouTube. Even if it's just a today's news, it doesn't matter. You will get your video removed. And that's bullshit. That right there is an example of what the next thing could be, would be just something that the corporation doesn't want you to talk
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
it's,
And again, I agree with you. I don't. You know, I would argue that I think that's kind of pointless. But uh, because I think that particular issue just like adds more fuel to a dead fire. But again, you're right. Like it doesn't matter what the issue is. The more power the corporations have, the more they get to control your speech. And it's not just on social media, by the way. It'll come down to your job.
oh, yeah.
We've talked about a lot of cases where that same thing is happening. But anyway, one last thing just to ask you, um, and I'll kind of give you my quick rundown too. With Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders working on this, if they decide, okay, we're going to, and again, combating Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell says, no, we're throwing out state. Either you get state funding and $300 unemployment benefits, or we'll do no state funding, but we'll do, you know, 300 benefits and a $1,200 check. Which one do you think is the better route to go?
I think I think the $1,200 check,
and the
and
300 plus that.
yeah, yeah,
I
because the states can come back and lobby for a second round, and we need that first chunk for the people first, and the
I think
states
you're
will
right.
receive some of that because tax time's coming up.
It is.
So that money in itself will go back to the state in the form of property taxes and state income tax. So a chunk to the people first, and then let the states get in there and scream for their money afterwards, because they're going to get some of it anyway if the states expect to get any tax revenue right now.
Yeah, I think I think you're correct in a lot of ways. I do think it is very much a selfish choice. Like, who you're gonna screw over is basically where it comes down to. Are you gonna screw over firefighters, teachers, policemen, people like that, or are
I
you gonna
think they're
screw
feeling
over?
screwed over already, but they
Well,
won't feel screwed over at least for a moment,
for a
and maybe
moment,
that'll
yeah.
extend the time period when we can get the rest of that taken care of, because at least they'll get the $1,200.
Yeah, exactly. And if they are unemployed, they'll get $300 extra. I mean,
Right,
at the end,
and there's
that's
no guarantee that even a lot of those people in those jobs are still in them at the moment. So it's kind of
sadly
like,
no.
at least you give everybody something with no strings. And like I said, tax time's coming up, and so there are going to be people paying taxes with that money. You might as well just give it to them so they don't have to pay it.
You're almost right. Anyway, so this entire Biden administration, I have been bashing Joe Biden's cabinet. And I've done that for two reasons. One, to show that I actually care about policy and I care about political agenda. I don't really care about what letter you have next to you, and that I, I I'm not biased when it comes to a Democrat said this, a Republican said that. It doesn't matter to me. I also did it though to show people that progressives and Democrats are not friends. Not at all. And that gauntlet has been thrown down many times by the Democrats. I will, though, have to say this. Joe Biden, in I would what many have called a identity politics lottery, have actually chosen somebody who might be really good for this country for HHS secretary, or for the HHS position, the Health Human Services Secretary, uh, and Biden's nominee, who hasn't been confirmed obviously yet, Xavier Becerra. Um, he is now officially Joe Biden's appointee. We'll see if he passes. I hope he does. The reason why I love Becerra so much for this position is that Becerra has made a ton of his notoriety as the AG in California suing pharmaceutical companies. Becerra has also been fighting for what is called uh, the enter now law, the break-in law. I forgot the exact name of it, but essentially what it does is when a pharmaceutical company is purposely overcharging for a product, and they're doing it purely to just make a ton of money on something that's really cheap, something like insulin, which is as low as $7 to $11, and they're charging people 80 to 140. Basara has been fighting for this law that which the government just basically breaks into the company and says, yeah, this is ours now. We're gonna sell it at the the national the global average, and you can as well, or you can continue to sell it really high, but you will not have the people. You will not give these people few options. Like we're going to give them more options. We're going to give them more choices. You're not going to pigeonhole them into purchasing your expensive medicine because now we're going to sell it for the appropriate price. And I love that. I do, because I think that there's so many cases, insulin, of course, being the big one, but in EpiPens and things like that, where these
Oh yeah.
pharmaceutical companies, they just bend us over. We're allowing them to make a profit. They're already making the profit, and they're going to argue all day and night. Well, R&D is important. R&D. Insulin does
Yeah,
not
but
need any
insulin is a
hard.
basal that has. But hey, but insulin. What happens with a lot of drugs is once the patent goes out on a drug, that's when you start to see when you go get your medicine or whatever, you get a uh,
Generic.
homocyl placebo. I hope they don't. Yeah, you get a generic,
Right.
and insulin doesn't. There's no patent on insulin. So it literally is not a moneymaker unless you do the backdoor deals and constrain the market and force companies to pay this price because anybody could make insulin, but in order to be a moneymaker, they have to corner the market on it.
And we're talking, when you say moneymaker, though, you mean a lot of money. I mean, an exorbitant amount of money because,
I mean, it should be $5. It should cost Jack to buy something as basic as insulin.
right,
Just like
exactly.
your blood pressure medicine doesn't cost anything. Even if you don't have insurance, blood pressure medicine is extremely cheap because millions and millions and millions and millions of people need it. So they are able to make it in a large enough amount. And insulin is also one of those millions of people need it, but they've just cornered that.
They did, and
It's
it's
just
like
one of those things.
AFib medications, which a lot of people need. Yeah, it's incredibly expensive if you don't have insurance. There's a ton of those. Um, Hell, you want to talk about a crazy one? Vaccines. If you don't have insurance and you walk in straight with the vaccine, it costs you like $50 to get a vaccine. Something that they're on the global market has them valued at about $3. But if you look into what you're being charged for, it's administrative costs. But this guy, Javier Becerra, I think not only does he is he on the right path for me because the former HHS head and the head that Biden was going to pick as well, both of them happen to work in the pharmaceutical industry. The one that's currently there made his living in the pharmaceutical industry, and the one Biden was going to choose was also a pharmaceutical CEO who happened to, unfortunately for this person, was the wrong skin color. And so Biden had to make a quick change. And again, identity politics works 1% of the time, and this is that 1%. Because I think he was like, well, let's just choose a brown person. Let's choose this guy. Because I think if Biden had looked into who Javier Becerra really was, he wouldn't have chosen him for this position. Becerra is not going to let the pharmaceutical countries run amok in our country, and not to mention he's also a proponent of Medicare for all, which I think
Right.
is amazing. And I know that scares
Well,
some people, but look, he's not going to get
what
you
we
the
all know today is, or at least yesterday's news is, well, I guess it could be today. It's probably yesterday. But that identity politics may have bled over into an extremely bad position for his choice for defense secretary. We got a Warren Monger in the
well.
defense secretary position.
We'll talk about him in a second because he's also it's a weird one, honestly. Like, but anyway, and I do think it's complex, and I'm not a fan. But just with Becerra, I think this is one of those like really rare times that hey, we got somebody good, awesome. He seems to be making
Well, let's
progress.
hope he sticks to his guns, and let's hope he pushes Biden
Yes,
without his pharmaceutical friends pushing back.
and the one thing too that I think he's gonna build on what Trump was building on was lowering the medication price. And in fact,
Yeah.
he even has said um, a lot of people have to order medicine because basically because they're insurance companies. By the way, when we talk about insurance companies and the freedom of choice, that's the lack of freedom of choice. Because if you have an insurance company, they tell you where you can get your medicine. And a lot of people have to order theirs online because it's just too expensive to purchase it locally. And
Well, don't worry now. Amazon is providing it.
well, even at that, there's been a study done, and about 11 to 15% of medications received by people are actually either tampered, broken, or were stored in
Substandard.
the
Yeah.
wrong environment. Yeah, and it actually is
Yeah.
killing people.
I
And
know. I've heard about that.
yeah, so you know, maybe this is an opportunity. We'll have somebody who's going to say, you know, this is stupid. Cut this red tape. Allow people to shop at their local store and get a discount on their pharmaceuticals, whether it's in Illinois or it's in New York. It doesn't matter. Like, so hopefully we have that. Yeah, the other one that was Lloyd Austin. Again, identitarian pick for or identity politics pick for sure as an African American male. I don't think there was much looked into. But here's the thing, though, and here's why I say it's complicated. Is I don't mean it's complicated as in like, well, if you tilt your head and squint, he's kind of good. No, I don't mean that at all. I actually just mean that, like, I think it was shit stacked upon shit for options. Meaning, yeah,
Oh yeah,
he's from Raytheon. The other guy, the other person that Biden was going to put in place, I believe she was from Boeing. I think I know she worked for another defense contract, and then the other person was also ties to deep state and uh, the military industrial complex. Like there was really
yeah.
no
It's
good
not as
options.
identitarian as it seems for this pick. It may appear that way, but I expected Biden to pick a Warren. I'm trying to say Warren. Anyway, yeah, a warmonger, and this guy definitely fits the bill.
Yeah, I think either way he was. Yeah, I mean, all of them would have been, and I think that's the problem. You're 100% right. It's horrible, and the thing that bothers me about this is we're not allowed to complain. It's the same way we're not allowed to complain when Harris does the same thing that Obama will do. And I bring up Harris specifically because, hell, maybe we won't even be able to complain about Biden either without being called a racist and a bigot and everything else. When it has nothing to do with their skin color, their nationality. Well, nationality is not fair, but their nation of origin, their you know
Nationality.
nationality. But yeah, or whatever, their gender, their preferred pronoun. Honestly, I wouldn't care about any of that stuff. It just depends like what they do. And this neoliberal agenda, as you rightfully put it, it's full of like future warlords who are only there to make money for Boeing, Raytheon, and the military industrial complex that is the deep state. Not a good
Yeah,
look.
some of these picks are they are not what I would consider to be any passive aggressive picks. I really see us going to war with somebody within the next year or two.
I think you're right. I mean, Neera Tanden and Lloyd Austin will have that happen for sure. But the one little thing we can take from it is, well, we might have a decent person representing us on healthcare, so that's pretty good. Anyway, moving on. There's a story that I think you'll like this one, Scott, and I don't know if you've heard about it. Um, do you know the name Rebecca Jones?
Yes, I know the name.
Okay, so you know the story. Um, Essentially, Rebecca Jones was a whistleblower. She worked for the state of Florida. Um, she had said that the officials are reporting inaccurate results when it came to COVID, when it came to outbreaks and hospitalization and things of that nature. Well, she was fired. Now, the controversy starts with her speaking out on social media and other platforms saying, look, these people are fudging the numbers, and the fact that I wouldn't do that is why they fired me. Ron DeSantis has said no, she was in trouble for 2 counts of cyber stalking and 1 count of cyber sexual harassment, which the sexual harassment count did get dropped, and DeSantis didn't acknowledge that, which it doesn't. I mean, it's not there. She's two counts of cyber stalking that she did in, I think it was 2017. Um,
And
well,
then,
oh, go ahead if you know.
well, and then they decided, like I said, she got charged with those, and then they decided to raid her home with a
Oh,
SWAT
yeah,
team.
I'm getting there. Hold on. Yeah, so what she
Oh,
has been doing instead, um, since she was fired, she's been fighting against the state, but she's been doing her own updates every day on the what she calls the real COVID numbers, and everything she says she's getting it from government officials. It's all legal, all on the up and up. She is a statistician. She's not a data analyst. She's not. She a pure statistician. Um, So she's been doing these daily for a while and also speaking out and saying, look, Florida is still lying. And when you look at her records compared to what Florida is releasing, and then you actually backtrack that by about a month or so, it seems that she's actually more accurate than what the state of Florida is. And again, this has kind of been fixed within the last couple months. So there was just a time there over the summer that this was majorly important, and the inaccuracies were fairly, uh, you know, they were present. I'll say that there was definitely inaccuracies in Florida's reporting. But yes, then as you said it, she has been like this kind of this this voice in the dark there in Florida. And then yeah, the police were called to raid her house. The SWAT team was there. The interesting thing I thought is that as soon as they busted in, and you can find this video on Twitter, I think it's still up. I'm sure it's on Facebook as well. You have to look up Rebecca Jones. But the interesting thing I thought is when the cops came in, they all had their guns out. Like they knew
Of
who
course
she
they did.
was. They knew what this was all about. Why the hell do they have their guns out? Like I don't know, but that is
This
relevant.
is called retaliation, and they know exactly what they're doing. I'm sure there was a news crew, and even though this was probably done by DeSantis, he's Republican governor, this is how they get the police to act like jackasses when they know
Gestapo's.
there is zero threat, there is zero chance of these people disappearing and not showing up in court. These are families that are asleep at 4:30 in the morning, and they make a show of it. And they do it for retaliation. They did it to Roger Stone too,
They
and
did.
he was a freaking elderly guy. And they do it to people, and they also do it to innocent civilians all the time. They got the wrong house, and they come in and they shoot you. So this is pure retaliation, and this crap should never be done unless it is necessary, and the drug lords are inside fully armed.
100%. In fact, funny you talk about they got the wrong house and ended up shooting someone because our next show we're actually going to talk about a rather big story where that happened. There just hasn't been enough details, so we don't want to talk about it yet. But no,
Good, because if you make that phone call and they show up to my house, I'm gonna be pissed off.
I'm just saying, was it a Subway sandwich or was it a gun? We don't know. But anyway, not the point. You're right. This happens a lot more than people think, and it was also like this Gestapo style, drag her through the public square for shaming.
Oh yeah, grab her by the hair, then say that that she bit someone or her
Right.
leg hit a cop, and now she's got felony assault of a police officer, and then they'll take her kids away from her and put them in the system, and they'll charge her with child abuse because she wasn't home the next day after they stole her.
And by the way, this lady, this woman, she's kind of a hero. She's actually just she only did this. She only lost her job, swam upstream because she wanted people to know, hey, you should probably be more careful out there. More people are dying. Like she's trying to help her fellow, community, her fellow neighbors know that there is a threat out there. And what happens? This is just so. This is the police state we live in. Uh, it doesn't matter. There again, yeah, Republican governor Ron DeSantis. It could be Democratic, Mayor Whitmer. It doesn't really matter. like
Yeah, this is politicians on both sides using the police for a political show and retaliation. And there is it's a waste of money, waste of resources. It's insulting. It's degrading to people. And next thing you know, they'll be firing her other cousins and family members, or her mother that works for some social work job somewhere. She'll get a pink slip because that happens all the time. It's happened on the other side for things too. That's like so and so's mother, who wasn't even aware of what was going on, is all of a sudden fired because and it's all political, and that is absolute horseshit.
And if you're thinking, like, well, okay, but they couldn't just do this for no reason. Number one, they can, but they didn't on this one. because I'm sure they knew this was going to be a pretty public case. So what they said is that they've actually been investigating her for a while because somebody broke in to the government ran website and went to the instant messenger system that they have, hacked into that, and encouraged other people to speak the truth and to basically rise against. She then uh, allegedly had also put up a number of how many cases of COVID had happened that day. So Rebecca Jones then fought back on this and said, "Look, number one, I'm a statistician. I have no idea how to hack into to shit." And basically her words. Um, And then she also pointed out the number that they used was off by about 430 people, and she said, "I would never omit 430 deaths. My the updates I've been doing prove that I wouldn't." And she also went back to the language used, that it's not her language. Now, on the contrary, DeSantis has said, "I have no idea what this is about." In fact, and I kid you not, this is word for word what his representatives said. They said, the DeSantis team knows nothing about nothing. What does that say? Come on. Really? Like, that is the most mafia bullshit answer I've ever heard. We know nothing about nothing. Like,
Oh, DeSantis gets to take the fifth, but not her.
right, yeah. So, yeah, I'm curious how this is all going to play out. I'm really, honestly, a little forlorn on this story because, oddly enough, do you know where I heard about it from?
Tucker Carlson.
Philip DeFranco.
Oh,
I haven't heard it
I
on.
didn't know.
I haven't heard it on anything major. I'm sure some people are. No, no, it was on CNN. Okay, maybe, but I'm not hearing a giant uproar.
I read it just on the digital news. But the only thing I don't like about DeFranco is I can't really see his real face through the makeup he wears.
Hey, he's getting old like the rest of us. No,
Hey,
I mean,
I get old and ugly, okay? At least people will know there's a person behind that concrete pink.
you got to watch his channel. DeFranco does, then you'll see the behind the scenes. I'm I'm messing with. I check out. There's certain shows that I check out um, daily, and I listen to them half-heartedly. And nothing against Philip,
Is
but
he still saying, "Hey, you beautiful bastards"?
he is, yes. But his is one of
Oh
those,
my God!
and one of the only reasons why I do is because he's one of the only people who, number one, delivers like about 5 or 6 different items in like the span of 10 or 15 minutes, which is really great for me. Because the thing I don't like about like cable news and network news is I don't care about people's opinions. Just tell me what it is. And
Right.
for the most part, that's all he does is just say this, and this happened. But he also has like a wide range of crap he talks about. Like he doesn't get deep in politics at all. He's pretty oblivious when it comes to politics, but he will cover like certain things like this story, which there again, I don't watch network news that often, but I would think that like CNN.com, MSN.com, like they would all be talking about this, and there's just been crickets. Like all I hear about is Trump and the stupid election fraud.
Yeah,
And
and I want to tell you, I stopped watching network news. I've not even watched Tucker or any network news for at least almost a month now.
good for you. Get off that shit. It's bad for. It's like being on Facebook. It's bad for you.
Oh, it's just I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of it.
Well, I get tired of watching these and then like basically they say some shit and then they all talk about it and then like the entire 24-hour cycle is different talking heads talking about the same shit you already heard and you're like, well, why can't I do that job? I saw that shit too. Like I could talk about it. That's easy.
Yeah,
Like no
even
one's.
filtered down. I usually like to watch Bill Maher, and I used to, and recently I'm just like, I
Oh,
just don't want to hear any of it.
I hate Bill Maher. If you like him, I'm sorry. I hate him with a passion. But
He
uh,
used to be fun. We used to have things to like argue about, like when what's his name? I forget. He's a brain physicist guy, and he had God, what is that guy's name? I'm going to shoot myself for another. I'm not going to shoot myself, but when Ben Affleck was on there and they were talking about some bad parts of Islam, and women's
Oh
rights,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Ben
yeah, yeah.
Affleck says, when he says, but Muslim people just want to eat a ham sandwich too,
Yeah,
it was
no,
great.
I agree. The only difference is that, like, okay, so hear me out. Bill Maher is, like, for one, he went super super, like, just like neo-lib after Trump won. Like, Trump broke Bill Maher, and
Yeah.
like he used to say, like, oh yeah, I identify with the Bernie Sanders group. Now he's like, oh, they're scum of the earth, they're ruining our country. Like, he's either gotten old or just completely broken by Trump. But then on the
Yeah,
other
and
hand
for a
too,
huge hothead, I can't believe that he did that.
right? But on the other side too, and I've noticed this more and more when I've watched him, which again I haven't watched him in forever, but like, he's a racist. Homeboy is totally a racist. Like, he will find every like moment he can to attack Middle Eastern people. Like, never stands up, but he's standing up for his quote unquote own people. And like, I'm sorry, but that's racism. Like, don't do an hour long show about how Trump is such a racist.
Yeah,
We're fucking
it's one
racist.
thing when it's on the subject of, like, and he's a big atheist, if you've seen
Yeah.
Religulous, which is actually pretty good.
Hmm.
It's not, it's mostly about Christianity.
It's a good movie, yeah.
But when you're talking about women's rights and female genital mutilation
Yeah,
and
very,
child slavery
very
and stuff,
totally.
but it's not, he continues on about it when that's not a subject.
Or he'll completely omit any crimes that the Israeli government is doing when they're expanding the West Bank. But yeah, like, again, I just to kind of go back on it, yeah, for me it was kind of shocking that this big of a story on Rebecca Jones and DeSantis, the only like bit I've heard about it was, yeah, like digital media, like you're saying, The Verge or The Guardian or what have you, they'll cover it here and there. And Philip DeFranco, like, like, this is huge. This is like Snowden level of stuff, and I really thought that, like, the MSNBCs would pick this up, like, because it kind of fits into their narrative of evil Republicans and whistleblowing on COVID facts, and like, this is really suited for them. They could totally
Well,
stand on their soapbox and go off on it.
there's a council, like, especially when it comes to CNN and some of the other places. They're like, well, do you think that the readers would care about this? And what of our polls saying are the interest factor? And if it's
No,
not
you're
on
right.
their list, they just ignore it like it never happened.
You're right. No, because the truth is, yeah, I mean, 95% of what they're going to talk about is Trump and what he's doing to our democracy and the election fraud and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, you're totally right. Anyway, that pretty much does it for us today. Uh, we thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, we have a show lined up again for probably tomorrow or Friday. Not exactly sure. We're kind of still working on this whole streaming thing, and that's kind of holding up our time. But this weekend, we're gonna try to get together, do like a 30-minute show, and we'll just do the whole comment section because there's been a bunch that we've kind of missed and talked over. But anyway, we will be back again very, very soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. Take care.
Goodbye.